What is up, ICP squad? Today we're gonna talk about how to stake on the NNS. For those of you that don't know, the NNS is the Internet Computer's native staking and voting governance mechanism. It's the neural network system. What it does is you put your ICP on there, it lets you vote, and when you vote, it gives you more ICP. In our last video, we spoke about retiring with $100 million and then retiring with $1,000 a month for 54.54 ICP, assuming ICP reaches $1,000 or $2,000 each in the future in the next 8 years or 12 years. But today we're gonna look at a tutorial on how to actually do this. How do you make an account on the NNS? What is an internet identity? How does voting work? How does staking work? I'm gonna go over all of the terms so you can know what staking means, so you can know what spawning a Neuron means, and all of the terms that Dfinity decided to use. So we're gonna try and look at that and simplify it. Remember guys, if you like our content, make sure to hit the like and notification buttons and all of the buttons. Subscribe to our newsletter at dfinitycommunity.com. And as always, none of this is financial advice. You always have to do what's best for you. I personally am 8-year gang, so keep that in mind and let's get to it. Alrighty guys, so the first thing you have to do is you have to go to the website, the staking website, the NNS, the Nervous Network System, and to do that you go to nns.ic0.app. That's all you have to do. I recommend using Google Chrome. You can also do this on your phone. Once you get there, it's gonna tell you to log in. Cool. So let's go ahead and click log in. If it's your first time doing this, it's gonna ask you for an internet identity. If you already have an internet identity, go ahead and fast forward to this part of the video because I'm gonna go over really quick what this is. What an internet identity is, it's a number and an identity that lets you log into virtually every single app on the internet computer. So on this one, I'm gonna put create a new identity anchor, device name. I'm gonna put like desktop computer test. We're gonna call this a test. Create, and it's gonna ask you for your PIN. If you're on your phone, it might ask you for a fingerprint or a face scan, face ID, whatever your phone has, and it's gonna construct a new internet identity. Alrighty guys, so congratulations, right here it gave me a brand new internet identity. This is gonna be your login, so congratulations, that's all you have to do, and I'm gonna click continue. It's gonna give you two options: a seed phrase, which is a combination of words that you have to save in a secure spot. This is basically your password for your internet identity, or a security key, which is a YubiKey that you buy specifically for the security of your ICP. I would suggest if you have very large amounts of ICP that you purchase one of these. I'm going to click seed phrase as it's the easiest option and I don't have to buy anything. All right, so down below, this is your seed phrase. These words right here, it starts with a number, that is your internet identity number, and a combination of words. So keep that in a secure spot. Don't give it to anybody for any reasons. And congratulations, you have your internet identity. You have your seed phrase so you can get back into your internet identity. We're gonna go ahead and close this little tab and go back into the network nervous system. We're gonna click login. It's gonna detect my internet identity, authenticate, and this is where you put a PIN if you have Windows. If you're getting an error where you can't put this, maybe you have an older computer like I do, simply type on Google how to enable Windows Hello and it'll let you use Windows Hello for this feature. Alright guys, so once the network nervous system finishes loading, it's gonna have 4 little tabs up here: ICP, neurons, voting, and canisters. Don't worry about most of those. ICP, that is just wallets that you can make. A neuron, which is the most important part for this video, is where you keep your ICP. So they call it Neuron because it's the network nervous system and it's like a brain or something like that. I think they should put easier terms. I would call it something like a lockbox, or this is where you stake your ICP, or something easier, but they named it a Neuron. What it is, this is where you're going to put your ICP. In order to do that, you do need to put some money on there. So I'm going to pause this video to deposit money into any of these accounts. It doesn't really matter as long as you put some ICP on there. One thing that is very important, you have to put at least 1 ICP for this to work. So let me pause the video and send some money to this account. Alrighty guys, as you can see, I have funded this account. All you have to do in order to do that is either go to your exchange like Coinbase or Binance, wherever you purchased your ICP, click withdraw, and then copy and paste this address on there, or whatever address you want. You can create as many of these as you want. I just put it on the first one. Or if you have something like Plug Wallet or Stoic Wallet, again, just copy and paste the address and send it to here. So now that we have money on here, we're gonna go to neurons. Now, the neuron is basically the box or the little bag where you store your ICP and you freeze it for a certain amount of time, a predetermined amount of time. So let's go ahead and click Stake Neuron. It's gonna ask you where you want to fund it from. It says select source account. We're gonna select this one because this is where I put money already in there. So I'm gonna select this one, and I want to put 1.01. There is a 0.00 fee, I think 3 zeros followed by 1. So I'm gonna put something like this in order for it to work appropriately. As a matter of fact, I can probably go ahead and put something like this. Once that funding of your neuron is complete, you're gonna get a neuron ID. That is basically the name of your little bag of money. This is what it's called. You're gonna get your balance. That's how much money you have on there. We have 1.0099 ICP, and then it's gonna give you this current dissolve delay. So again, this is one of those Dfinity terminologies. What does that mean? Dissolve delay basically means how much time do you want to lock your ICP in here for. There's a little sliding bar down here, and it gives you as minimum as a couple of hours, which I think is no rewards, and maximum of 8 years. Hence the hat, 8-year gang. 8-year gang is the maximum amount of time that it lets you choose for dissolve delay. Does that mean that is the max time you can leave ICP on there? No, because you can pause it. Let's go ahead, and for this one, since this is just a test account, I'm gonna put 2 hours because I'm gonna need this ICP later for NFTs. So I'm gonna put update delay, confirm dissolve delay increase. After complete, the dissolve delay will be 2 hours and 26 minutes. And guys, it's up to you how much you want to put it on there. So when it comes to voting, I like to think of it like a Dorito. You have a huge big part, and then you have a small tiny part, like a triangle. So how does this work? Basically, the more time you leave your ICP on there, the more time you freeze it. And remember guys, the clock can never be turned down, it can only be turned up. So you can always increase the amount of time, you can never decrease the amount of time. Once you put it for 8 years, it's 8 years. You can't make it 7 or 5. If you have 2 years, you can make it 8 years, but that's it. You can only make it go up. So the more time you put on there, the more voting rewards you get. At the time of this video, it's around 22% annual percentage yield. That means you get 22% of your amount that you put in there every year. Some people have managed a way to get a little bit more depending on who you follow or if you're actively voting on there on governance all the time. But for the most part, if you put 8 years, you get roughly 22%. If you put, let's say 5 years, you get a smaller percentage. If you put 6 months, which is the lowest amount of time, you get a smaller percentage, and smaller, and at the last snippet of time, you basically get virtually nothing. So this encourages people to stake their ICP for a longer time. So more time, more rewards. If you hit that dissolve button, the counter starts timing, so you get lots of interest. Next day you get less interest, next day less interest, and as you get to the end of your staking term, you get less and less until you virtually get no interest at all whatsoever at the end. Now, what I do, what the 8-year gang does, is we put it for 8 years and we just never hit that button. We just leave it there for 8 years forever, and we always get the maximum amount of gains. So the way I like to think of it, if it's 22%, assuming it stays somewhere around like that 20 region, whether it be like 17%, 22%, 20%, it used to be 28% when I started. As long as it maintains in that region, in 5 years, I should get all of my money back, which is, you know, what a diamond hands does anyway. If you were to just hold your coins for 5 years, that's how much coins you would have, and that's how much money you would get by just holding, right? So not only do you get your amount back, but you still have that neuron that continues to give you money forever. So you get your coins back, you have a neuron that keeps on giving you money. In my opinion, I think that is the best way to do it. You get your coins back and you hold them for like 4 or 5 years, and you get more free money forever. Plus you still have all the coins that you left in there, and you can start the dissolve delay once you think they are worth enough money. So let's take a look a little bit more on how to do this. Again, as stated before, the more time you put on there, the more interest you get. The less time you put on there, the less interest you get. In this case, I'm gonna put, I'm sure, let's imagine it says 8 years or 4 years, whatever you want to do. In my case, I already have a real neuron. This one is just for the tutorial, so we're gonna put 2 hours because I'm gonna go buy some NFTs. All right, this is the fun part. This is follow neurons. So once you have a neuron, the bag of money that you left frozen in there, it gives you right to vote. So there's many different things you can vote on. on. You can vote on exchange rate, network economics, governance, node of admin. I'm not going to go into all of that since it's so complex. What I am going to say is this: governance, I believe, gives you the maximum amount of rewards, and everything else gives you a little bit less. So right here, you can select to follow other neurons, so other people or organizations that have their bags of money that they vote with. You can follow them. You can do this by one of two ways. Number one, you can type their Neuron ID, which is the ID that we got when we created our Neuron. So for example, you really like your friend, you like how he votes, you ask him for his Neuron ID, you type it on there, and bam, you vote the same way your friend does. Or some organizations have managed to get themselves on this little drop down list. For example, all topics, and it's gonna load the organizations that have gotten themselves on this list. Let's put add followee, Dfinity Foundation, and these two other guys recently got themselves on that list. You have the ICP Maximalist Network, and you have the CycleDAO.xyz. In order to get on this list, you have to make a proposition and you have to get enough votes, and they let you basically be on this drop down list, which is, I believe, an incredible amount of power to manage the votes of what I think is going to be one of the largest, if not the largest, truest Web 3.0 networks out there. In this example, I'm going to put follow the ICP Maximalist Network. I think those guys are very, very active in voting, so I'm going to follow them for all topics except governance. Now, I'm also going to suggest to go on governance down here and then also follow somebody for governance. See, governance recently got separated from the rest of the activities, so whenever you follow somebody for everything, you follow them for everything except governance. So I'm going to click on governance and then also follow whoever you want. So you can have Dfinity Foundation, Internet Computer Association, ICP Maximalist Network, CycleDAO.xyz, or you can type in whatever neuron you like. So for example, again, your friend has a neuron you like, you think he's very smart, you like how he votes, type in his neuron right there, or type in my neuron, whoever you want. I'm gonna go ahead and make it easy and just click ICP Maximalist Network because I think those guys are the most active and just vote all the time, and I want the most rewards. Therefore, I want somebody who votes all the time, or if I have time, I myself can go and vote all of the time. You can choose for all these other things also one by one, whoever you prefer. Maybe you prefer one organization or friend for one thing, another organization or friend for another thing. In this example, I already put all topics except governance, these two guys, and I'm gonna put that all topics except governance, and then I'm also going to put them for governance. So that should just about cover every single voting thing by a group that I think votes a lot, which is what I want, somebody who votes a lot. And if I ever disagree with them or something, or I don't like how they're voting, I can just simply come and delete them or vote myself manually. So that's done. I'm going to click X, and this is the good part. I'm not going to go over canisters. That's for buying cycles and posting websites and stuff like that. I'm not going to go over canisters in this video, but let's go over voting very quickly. Under the voting tab, this is where you get propositions. Now, I'm not a coder or a programmer or anything like that, which is why I like to just follow other people who are, or who have people in their team who understand this type of voting. But whenever something's important, I like to vote myself. So for example, let's read this proposition. Let's see, proposal to adopt known neuron icdevs.org. So guys, just like we said on that drop down list, you have a list of guys. This is how they get on that list. So let's go ahead and click on it. It says open. That means our neuron hasn't voted on it. Down here, you'll see normally either to vote for or against it. In this case, we're not seeing it. I think because either the very small amount of time that we put on there, I think is the reason, or it's already been voted on. So you can vote to either adopt or reject each proposition, and that's how you get rewarded. So let's go back into the neuron after you voted, or the person you followed voted. You're gonna see this right here. So this is a list of neurons. If you make another neuron, you'll see it down here. This example, we just have one, so you can click on it and it's gonna give you these numbers. So let's go over some of these terms so we can better understand them. You have this right here, joint community fund. For the simplicity of this video, I'll go over that in a future time. Increase dissolve delay. Increase dissolve delay basically translates to add more time. As stated previously, you can always add more time to your neuron. You can increase it by a couple of hours, or you can make it go all the way to 8 years. Whatever the amount of time, you click on it and you can click update dissolve delay or increase dissolve delay. Now there is another very important button. If you are like me and you are 8-year gang, you never want to click this button because you always want the max amount of rewards. You don't care if that timer ever starts. But some people are not like that. Maybe you're like, hey, I want all of my initial amount back in 8 years and maybe a couple of interest. So you would click this button. In our example, because I'm going to use these to go buy some NFTs in a little bit, I'm going to click start dissolving. So you click this start dissolving button, and what that means is basically start the timer to give me back my initial amount of money. So if you put 1,000 ICP, after that amount of time passes, the timer starts. And that amount of time passes and you get your initial amount back. So right here, I already started dissolving. If you change your mind, you can click stop dissolving and it stops the timer once again. Again, as stated, you can always stop the timer or restart the timer, but you can never subtract time from the time that you put on there. You can always add time. You can't subtract time. You can pause it and unpause it, but you can't take away time. So on this one, I'm gonna let it keep running so I can get that ICP back. And there's another button, increase Neuron stake. So you click this button, it's gonna show your wallets. It's gonna say basically select source account. Basically that means where do you want to take money from. Again, the main one is the original one that you get there when you make the NNS account on in the first time, and this is that other account that I made. You can make whatever wallets you want and you would fund it from there. So let's assume I had like 10 ICP on here. You click on it and it would send that 10 ICP to your Neuron. One more thing, this is a pro hack. It says source and it gives you this address. That is the address that we just saw right here, A5 something something, and then destination. This little destination number is actually the address for your Neuron. So if you ever want to just send money directly from Binance or Coinbase or whatever your exchange is directly to your Neuron without having to do all of these steps, you can just send it directly to this address right here, the Neuron address. And you can save this in like your frequent addresses or something like that. You can send it from Stoic or Plug Wallet directly onto here as well. So that is the address of your Neuron. That's a pro hack if you want to save some time and not send it to the wallet and then fund it from your wallet. Just send it directly to the destination address. Now you're gonna have these little percentages right here. Maturity. What does maturity mean? Maturity means the amount of ICP that you have. So for example, 100% maturity means you have the complete amount of ICP that you originally put on there. So for example, you put 100 ICP and you reach 100% maturity. That means you have another 100 ICP that you can spawn. Or for example, if you have 100 ICP and you have 20% maturity, that means you have 20 ICP that you can spawn. I'll go over what spawn means in just a second. Then there's this button, merge maturity. Right now it's gray because we basically have no maturity. Merge maturity is basically when you have some rewards or ICP on there. So for example, 1%, 2%, 20%, 0.7%, whatever your maturity is, and you're basically saying, I want to take that ICP and put it back in my bag. So you take it from the maturity and you put it back into your staking, and this is how we achieve the compound staking. As we stated in that $100 million retirement video, you basically restake, right? You click merge maturity and you put all that money back into your Neuron or back into your account of frozen ICP. You have this other button, spawn Neuron. What does that mean? Spawn Neuron. Spawn Neuron basically means withdraw. So let's say you have 100 ICP, you reach 20% maturity, and let's do the math, that's 20 ICP that you can already pull out. What you would do is you click spawn Neuron and it basically creates a new Neuron with no time on it. So you don't have to wait any more time, or I think it's like a couple of hours or something like that, and you basically withdraw all of the ICP that you have access to. One more thing to keep in mind, you can't spawn a Neuron or withdraw ICP until you reach one full ICP. So for example, if you're thinking I want to stake only one ICP, it's going to take you a long time before you can pull any of that money out. It might take you like 5 years at current rates of 22%. If you have 100 ICP, then you would need to reach 1%. I think that is roughly, I think it's like 2 weeks at current rates. So in 2 weeks you could spawn one ICP, and the more time that you put on there and the more ICP that you put on there, the more frequently you can spawn ICP. Because remember guys, in order to spawn a Neuron or withdraw your ICP, you have to have 1 full ICP. So keep that in mind when staking. If you're going to stake something like 5 ICP or 10 ICP, it might take you longer to pull some of those gains out. I think 10 ICP would take you half a year to pull out 1 ICP. So keep that in mind if you need the money pretty quickly for spawn Neuron. Again, the followees, these are the people that you are following for voting. So you can either vote yourself on the voting tab that is up here on that other window, or you can follow people. We followed the ICP maximalist on all topics except governance, and we also followed them on governance. For this example, you can follow whoever you want or vote yourself. I would suggest to follow someone who votes the way that you like to think, the way you want the network to function, and also somebody who votes frequently, because that's how you get the most rewards. I'm not going to go over hotkeys for the simplicity of this video. And then voting history shows how you've voted, either personally or by the people you followed in the past. And that's it, guys. You basically put your money on there. You click merge maturity to put it back in there if you want to, or you click spawn Neuron to take your money out if you're ready to spend some of those rewards, buy some NFTs, sell them in the exchanges for US dollars or whatever your favorite currency is. And that is how you use the network nervous system. I hope this video was useful, guys. Again, if you like our content, if you like these educational videos, make sure to hit the subscribe and notification window, leave your comment below. There is an ongoing contest. 3 people are going to get 1 ICP each, so leave your comment below. How long are you staking for? Is there any questions we didn't answer? So leave your comment below, guys, and see you next time.